Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Master Books podcast. I am Jennifer White, and I am going to be interviewing my good friend, Carrie Bailey. She is the author of so many of our elementary curriculums, such as Stepping Stones and Simply K, and she's co-author with Angela Odell on math lessons, Level K. She's recently done Catch On to Cursive, and now she has a new one that's coming out, or it's come out. She has written Handwriting A to Z, and this is a great course for helping your first and second graders learn to write well and to develop all of the muscle memory that they need to be great writers for the rest of their life. So excited for you to hear from Carrie, and we are going to show you some of the pages while we're talking today. We are going to give away one digital copy of Handwriting A to Z at the Moms of Master Books Facebook group and one over at the Master Books app. And all you need to do is look for the post, follow the prompts. There'll be a reason or a way to comment, and then one person will be picked on each platform to receive a digital copy of the book. All right, let's get started. Here at Master Books, we are dedicated to help you disciple your children and develop a strong faith as a family. With pro-Bible homeschool curriculum and beautiful books that honor God as Creator. We offer online courses to help your family worship and serve God. You will also find morning baskets and devotionals for the whole family. Our mission is ink on paper to touch eternity, and we have been publishing Christian books for this purpose since 1975. Find your pro-Bible homeschool curriculum at masterbooks.com. Well, hey, Carrie, welcome to the Master Books podcast.
Hello, good morning.
So great to have you back on the podcast with us. It's always fun to talk to you and learn from you. You have so much wisdom to share. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So I have a degree in early childhood education. I started teaching actually in the public school system. I taught special education and then moved into teaching kindergarten. And then I became a stay-at-home mom and did send my oldest to public school for a few years, but just wasn't happy with that situation. And so we pulled him and began homeschooling. And now all three of mine have been homeschooling. My oldest is now, he's starting his senior year. I can't believe it.
I can't either.
Wow. Yeah, I know. So, yeah. It's been a journey. And then through all of that, I found Master Books. I believe that was back in 2016 I found them and just became part of the Moms of Master Books group to gain information. And I'm just a helpful person.
Yes,
and so Randy saw that and asked me to be a moderator for the group. And then through knowing me from that, he approached me about writing a kindergarten curriculum because that was something that they had a solution, but it wasn't the best for like today's homeschool mom. Right. And so that's basically how that all got started.
I love it. Well, it makes me happy because it's been such a benefit to the Moms of Master Books to have your curriculum. You've written some really outstanding, top-ranked, award-winning pieces, and it's making an impact for eternity as well as just for the next generation and how well they're going to succeed in the things that God's assigned them to do. So thank you for all you've done. We want to talk a little bit about your new curriculum, Handwriting A to Z, not A to Z, but A to Z. Why Z?
So I did a focus this time. I like to focus on topics that will draw the student in. Yes. With Cursive, we did kind of a fishing theme where they had like a little group that they could get with, like a club skeeter actually is what it's called. And so this time I really love animals. You will find my oldest jokes with me that we have a zoo here. And so we really don't, but he jokes around like the zoo is back when I bring home another animal. So I just love animals and I love seeing God's work in them. Yeah. It's just a constant reminder to me of how amazing everything was crafted and designed and made by him.
Yes. So you filled this book with animals and you're teaching them to write a print handwriting and using animals to keep their attention. So I am going to add our book to the screen so people can see the inside of it. This is a particular lesson that Carrie wanted to show you. So while we have it up, Carrie, tell us a little bit about the difference in having a curriculum, your curriculum, and not having it. What's the outcome of not using your handwriting curriculum?
So the majority of handwriting curriculums, especially that I have seen, they're all very, very similar. They usually have, some of them literally are just copy work. Like it's traceable. That's what they do. They just trace the words. There's not really explicit, structured instruction of how to form the letters.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will have just those guidelines, like the numbers 1, 2, and 3, of how to make the strokes, but they don't actually go into detail and really give a, again, like a very structured instruction
Mm-hmm.
of exactly the steps to make those letters. So that is a main difference. And then also just the activities in it. At this level, I didn't do as many of the bigger core muscle activities. I focused a little bit more in, now there are some, but we did focus in on more of just developing that hand strength, because at this age, a lot of those students will have a stronger core, just because of the stage of development that they're at. It doesn't mean that they don't need those core strengthening activities. It's just we couldn't put everything in here. And so I had to kind of focus in a little bit more on the fine motor.
Okay. So you've done a great job throughout all the courses that you've created to really take into consideration their brain development at that age, at that stage of their life, their muscle development. The whole Master Books method was designed based on some of the concepts that you brought to the table. So I want to talk about how you are addressing the brain development and addressing the muscle development within this course.
Mm-hmm. So anytime that someone writes, it activates, whether it's just one letter or more, it activates the neural pathways in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And the pathways that it makes, there's this big, huge, and I know I've talked about this in a few other podcasts recently, but there's a big push right now for the science of reading. So what that means is scientists have actually started monitoring brains and brain
Mm-hmm.
activity and seeing those pathways. And one of the things that they have noticed is that when you write, that activates neural pathways that are also associated with reading. So handwriting, again, which a lot of people probably know this, or I think they do, is associated with reading.
Mm-hmm.
And the other factor is that those neural pathways are not activated like that when students are only tracing something. They are not activated when students are only typing something. And actually, research states that it's detrimental to young children because to do keyboarding over writing, because they actually do not look at the letters the same. And so it reduces their identification of each letter. And then another factor is that studies even show that students who write and print actually will generate more ideas. So like if we're talking about something else, they are going to write more or to communicate more than they would if they were simply typing out something. I mean, let's even think about our text messaging. Half the time we're not even putting in full words anymore. Right. So if we're writing something, we do the whole thing. Sometimes one of mine now that's younger, he will even put IDK for I don't know, in his writing.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious to me, but at the same time, that's a learned thing for our, current time,
Mhm.
is the technology piece. And so we just need to be careful about having our students type before they learn to write.
Ah, that's a very important tip. So learn to write before you type.
Yes. And the exercises, so we've shown in the Moms of Master Books group, and possibly, I believe, in the app too, about the hand
Mhm.
development and how the bones aren't even fully together at
Mhm.
certain ages, and which we've talked about growth and development and how all of that plays into the whole child. And so that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on their spiritual, their physical, their mental. We want to focus on all of it. And
Mhm.
so anytime that we go to write, there are muscles in our body, even our core, like our stomach and back muscles, those are important for holding our bodies upright. See, I'm slumping in my
Right.
seat.
Me too. Ready to sit up.
For holding our bodies upright, we want to rest our forearm on the table where our elbow
Mhm.
is bent and relaxed. And we want to make sure that our wrists can move, but at the same time, not be like this. We don't want to
Uh-huh.
write like that, because that's going to put pressure and strain on the whole entire arm. And it will even hurt up into your shoulders.
Yeah.
And so, and make sure our feet are flat on the floor, seats,
Mhm.
we're back in our seat. And so there's all of these things that people usually don't think about. They don't teach. And so in this course, we explicitly talk about, okay, there's pictures in there, graphics of how you should kind of look. There's information for students who are left-handed, because it is a little different.
Mhm.
And even people who are we talk about left brain and right brain. Well, the thing about writing is it actually connects both of those.
Oh,
And
wow.
reading will as well. And so we are crossing the midline a lot when we're writing. So those activities are really important.
Okay. Well, let me bring back the book so people can see it. And I want you to kind of walk through what is happening on these pages.
So this is exercise 1. Every
Mhm.
lesson has a couple days worth of exercises.
Okay.
And so we basically are doing a letter for 2 days. So in this, it's the letter B. So every letter that we cover, we have an animal that begins with that letter. This one we're talking about, obviously, it's the bald eagle.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's a read section that will be at the very beginning of each lesson. And
Okay.
then from there, it goes to the warm up activity. And then on the next page, you will see there's the write activity. And so notice here we have 3 steps. Some of them may only have 2 steps, and some of them may have more than 3. It just depends on which letter it is. But we
Mhm.
wanted to go through, and we've this time given them a red line at the very top. So our top line is the red line. Our midline is the dashed line, and that's yellow. And our baseline is a green line. Now, when they have to go below the green line, like for those hanging letters, like a lowercase g and a lowercase j, there's I believe it's a little bitty blue faint line, just to give them kind of a guide as well.
Mhm.
And so this takes them through very explicit instructions. Start at that red line, make a line straight down to the green line. Then it says go back up to the red line, curve around to the yellow line as you bump the straight line that you originally drew, and
Mhm.
then bounce off of it as you curve around and bump the green line to connect back to the straight line that you drew. And
Okay.
so every time you do that, you should be making those movements and saying those things that you're doing, because that is going to help the student be able to get that systematic, explicit instruction on
Mhm.
how to form these letters.
Mhm.
And so we give them some practice for them to trace just as a guide. And then you'll notice we remove that. And it's a
Mhm.
little gradual. You can see the top line is a little bit darker and then it's a little bit lighter. And then we want them to do 2 more on their own. And that's where that comes in, because a lot of things just have them simply tracing forever, and then they'll remove the tracing and like just copy it.
Hmm.
And so we want to make sure that they know formation, because that's also important for the students to be able to become fluent in writing.
All right. I love that. I love the bald eagle pictures, and I love that you have a scripture here.
Yes, ma'am. And then the next page, we actually have them, it's called Find. So this is basically where they can, this says circle the capital B's in red. If they would prefer to use a highlighter or something like that, the parents can modify that. But basically, they're looking through this text. The parents would be reading it or co-reading, depending on the student's age, and going through and finding those capital B's. And then we ask them, like, how many capital B's did you circle red? Circle that number. And then there's a lot of information also about being good stewards of our land and helping animals and conservation.
Okay.
We actually do that here on, I say we, it's really mostly my brother on the farm. And I talk about that in this course. Is my parents have a farm that connects to my brother's farm. I live on the farm. And so we have, like, he plants grasses that are native and all kinds of pollinators just to help the wildlife, because a lot of them are declining. They are becoming extinct. Like quail, the population for quail in my state had gone down dramatically. And this morning I was in here and I can hear them, outside. And there's one, well, there's more than one, but they're constantly all day long. You can hear them, you see them. We see rabbits galore. I mean, I can't tell you how many. I mean, it's all day long, rabbits everywhere. Of course, we have those other ones who are, a little bit more of a predator, and will kill my chickens. So,
Yes.
that's part of it, but it's also part of how God designed everything to be. Which is a little bit difficult when I'm explaining that to my children. Well, I'm sorry that this is how this animal doesn't know it's being mean and killing your chicken. It's just doing what it knows to do to survive.
Right.
And then the next page, that starts day 2, those find activities.
Okay.
And then we have another warm-up activity. So day 1 has read, warm up, and write. And then day 2 has find, warm up, and write. And so we're, again, going back through, and you'll notice this time we only have one line with those tracers on it. And the next 2, we don't have the tracing letters. But we still have, and some of these, like, there are some little poems in here that I just kind of like came up with. That's not one of them. That one's just a little blurb about, like, help me grow feathers. It's a warm up activity for them to do. But there are some, I tried to include some of that because I like poems, especially the rhyming part of it. It's just good phonemic awareness for children. So I like to include some of that as well.
Good. I love how much color there is on the page. And I love that the instructions are colorful as well to help them understand that you do have this red line and this yellow line and this green line. So let's talk about how in this course that you've created it to honor God. You've talked about that a little bit and what makes it fun. We've seen some of that already, but if you want to just kind of recap it.
So when I think about that, the part to me that honors God is, like, I have some baby chicks right now that I just got earlier this week, and they were literally 2 days old when I got them.
Oh, wow.
And a couple of them did not make it. And we are learning, because we have only had baby chicks one other time, and it was only 4. Whereas this time I decided to go whole hog and I got 13.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But what has been amazing is I have watched these chicks. One, I'm always amazed at how quickly they grow. But I was amazed that literally 2 days old, they're already scratching and foraging for food. And I was like, and then some of them are even like flapping and can fly a little bitty, like a foot or something. But I thought about it, and I'm just like, I said to my children, is this not amazing that it's already just in them to know how to find food. At
Yes.
2 days old, they're, scrounging for their own food and not dependent upon someone else. Like, yes, they need their mother or a heat lamp to, keep warm. But it was just amazing to me because I'm like, man, just the little bitty piece of that to just get to see, or the rabbits that are in our yard, they're the quail. I mean, they're beautiful. It's amazing to me, and how each one, God designed them in such an amazing and unique way. And I just stand in awe. Like, I just am in awe. And where I live, obviously it's in the country, and it's just beautiful, So like, I feel privileged to be able to just walk out my door and be in nature. And nature is one of those things that it helps. Like, our society is so stressed and we are so anxious and so busy. And, like, one of the things even a doctor will tell you when you go in and you're like stressed or anxious, we have one that told a family member, I want you to just go sit outside on the porch or something, just by yourself for like 30 minutes at least every day. And I'm like, what doctor nowadays even tells somebody, let's not give you a medication, let's tell you to go sit in the sun or go sit in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things where God gave us so much when he created the world. And a lot of times we take it for granted. We really do. We don't stop. We don't take time to stop and just enjoy what he gave us. So that's another thing that this course is really trying to get kids to do, because even my own children, with kids on video games and TVs, and it's a fight for me too. Please don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not this perfect parent. It is a fight to get your children to stop a video game or whatever and just go play. My middle one actually does not have a real issue with stopping and going and playing outside. As a matter of fact, he's the chicken caretaker. A little bit like me, where he loves those animals. And so the other two, though, they're less likely to want to go out and find something to do. And so it is a battle. And I know it's a battle, but it's one that we shouldn't give up. It's one that we should fight for, because it is important.
Well, and it reminds me of Philippians 4:8, where the Lord tells us the good things to think about, things that are excellent and praiseworthy and noble, and animals are, I mean, some of them are predators, like you said, but it's his simple creation, and they're majestic in their own way. And what, like you said, what he's created them to do and how it's already in them. That reminded me of our book, Instincts by Design. That is an excellent book.
I just got that book.
Did you? Good.
I did. Yes.
So is there anything else about the science of handwriting that you want to share with us?
Mostly just to reiterate the fact that all studies are showing and leaning towards the connection of reading and writing, and how those same pathways in the brain, it opens up a network. So if we think about that, and I know, like, even in Simply K, one of the things I have said was, we want to make connections. We want to activate the students' background knowledge. And that's even what this course is doing too with the animals. Most children are familiar with animals at a young age. And so, yes, there will be some in there that they've never even heard of. But at the same time, it gives them a basis, a foundation to build up on, and to be able to make a connection. And then when we make that connection with our background knowledge, and then we add in our handwriting and our reading and how all of those pathways in our brain, it's just going to increase the academic side of our brain more than if we didn't give explicit instruction.
Absolutely. And that just made me think about the blog that you wrote for us on Catch On to Cursive, and about cursive in the brain. And that's helped me personally so much with just helping pay attention, and how that is helping my brain overcome things to write in cursive. So we'll link that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for writing this. Thank you for contributing to the impact of eternity in publishing and homeschooling. Thank you for everything that you bring to the table that the Lord has put in you, like the love for animals and the love for teaching. And we're just so grateful to have you on our team.
Thank you. I've been really blessed by Master Books and all the people I've gotten to know through them and the friends I have made, like you. It has been a true blessing in my life.
Same here. It has for me too. And we pray that you are all blessed as you're planning your 2024-2025 school year and getting all of your books ready and all your plans together and having fun, hopefully, and making great memories. And I just love that as you have chosen to disciple your families through homeschooling, that you are also choosing this, hopefully for you, simpler life where you do have time to just admire and glory in his creation. So thank you for joining us today on the podcast. Remember to check in at the Moms of Master Books Facebook group, as well as the Master Books app, where you will have an opportunity to make comments, share your thoughts, and potentially, as one of you will win a digital copy of this book, Handwriting A to Z. All right. Thank you, Carrie. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We bless you in the name of Jesus.
Hey, thanks for joining us today for the Master Books podcast. It was really fun to do this with you today. We hope that you'll take a moment and rank and review the podcast wherever you are listening or watching so that others can find it more easily. We loved having you here, and we look forward to being with you on the next podcast. It comes out every other week, Mondays at 5 a.m. See you then.